Hi students, I'm going to show you guys today replacement weaving, and you're going to understand why it's called replacement weaving as soon as I get started. But we start with a piece of burlap. Okay, this is kind of that, I don't know, potato bag kind of material. It's kind of stringy on the sides, the top and the bottom. And you're also going to need some masking tape, of course the burlap, some yarn. You're going to need 2 or 3 colors, and it's going to be an arm's length. So if you stick your arm out, it's going to be, as long as your arm. So you're going to need 2 or 3 colors. You can always go back and get more yarn. You're also going to need a needle. These are the needles, and there are white ones and blue ones. Okay, so I just kind of made this one blue. And then you're going to need to prepare for weaving. Okay, and the first step is that you're going to be putting some tape on the top and the bottom. Okay, now the top and the bottom are the short sides of that rectangle. Okay. All right, so put tape at the top and the bottom. To do that, you're going to do that at the top and the bottom on each side. So I just kind of look like it's, tear it, and I just tear it off. I put my fingers together and I tear it off. And I'm going to put tape at the top. And I like to just kind of stick it down to the table just for a minute while I do that side. Then I'm going to do the bottom too. Okay, and then I just kind of tear it off. And then I pull it up. And if you notice, I have the tape above the edge of the burlap. That's so that all those little strings kind of get stuck. I do not need to tape the long sides. Those are okay. So I'm going to kind of just tape at the same area where I did and really pressing it down and then pulling it off. Okay. Okay. And then this is where I can put my name on it. Okay, now it shouldn't be stuck down to the table at all. If you have some little loose sides, you can just kind of either tape those over, or if you want, you can kind of trim that off if it bothers you, and just trim it off. Okay, set those aside in your table trash can. Then you're going to place your name at the top. So I would write Mrs. Taylor. And I want you to use a Sharpie. If you just use a pencil, it's going to be hard for my old eyes to see. Okay, so Mrs. Taylor. And then if you have room, you can put your class code up there. If you don't have room, you can put your class code at the bottom. So let's just say that I'm doing this with 3rd grade Miss Vutich's class. Or if it's 2nd grade, it's going to be 2 and then an M or something like that. Okay, so again, tape the top and the bottom on both sides. Okay, and then place your name, and then you can begin work. The first step is to pull a strand out near the top and bottom in symmetrical places. Now I've already pulled one out at the bottom. I did that before I got started with you guys, so I'm going to show you just how to do that. I've got one at the bottom already pulled out. I'm going to pull one out at the top, just a little bit down from your tape. And you want it to make sure that it's a string that's not in the tape. So I'm going to, maybe this side kind of goes a little slanted, so I'm going to pull out this one. And it doesn't matter which side you pull it out from. You just kind of want to get a check. So I'm going to kind of stick my needle under it. Let me zoom in so you guys can see that. You can kind of see at the bottom there's kind of a bigger space than normal. That's where I pulled one out. And now I'm just kind of sticking my needle up underneath a string, because it's kind of hard to get that to pull out right there. So I'm going to kind of pull up, and then I have a little bit of a string to grab onto. If it's still not enough for you to pull up, you can follow that string, stick it underneath just that same string again, and you're going to kind of pull up. Then I can pull that string out. So I kind of hold on to the top and the bottom, and then I just pull it right out. Okay, so you're going to have these little burlappy strings. And then, so I've taken one out. Now I get to replace it with a colorful piece of yarn. As you can see that I've done each of here. So I've not just put in yarn. I had to take one out first. Okay. Well, I didn't pause the video, so I'll have to cut that out. So I've got my piece of yarn, and it's about an arm's length. I can't really show you the arm's length, but it's about this long, okay? So it could essentially go through the burlap 2 to 3 times, okay? Now I'm not going to cut it. I don't want to cut it, but I do want to get it in the needle. Here's how you can get it in the needle easier. I'm going to zoom in even more. I like to pinch the end of the yarn. I'm not going to try to like stick it in the hole, okay? That's hard. I pinch the end of the yarn and then I kind of let it out a little bit. I put the needle, that's the hole of the needle, and I'm going to wiggle and then pinch the end and then pull the needle, okay? Now I want that to go in to the yarn a little, or into the needle a little ways, and I want to have this tail. I do not need to tie a knot. In fact, if I tie a knot, it's going to make it really hard. That's when I can start weaving, okay? So I'm going to zoom in again. I'm going to start at whatever end is most comfortable. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to start on the right side. If you were left-handed, you could start on the left side. And I think I'm going to go every 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, down. 1, 2, 3, up. So I'm over, 1, 2, 3, under, 1, 2, 3, over, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you could change up the pattern if you wanted to go 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5. You are the artist. You get to decide on your pattern. Now, so essentially you're weaving the needle in, but pretty soon you're going to pull that needle through, and it's going to pull the yarn through. I'm going to pause while I do this so you don't have to watch me do. All right, so I've got my needle all the way through this part of the burlap. This part was in here like this. This part, I don't want it to stay in there. You're going to see me do that. I'm going to pull this needle out again, kind of like I pulled the burlap. I'm going to hold the top and the bottom. I'm going to pull that needle through. Okay, and I'm going to kind of hold this piece as I pull that needle out a little bit more. I'm going to pull it out, but I don't want this part to go through. So I'm pulling until I have a little bit left over. Okay, it's a little bit. I can always trim off the extra. Okay, so you can see my tail came through. Now I can use my fabric scissors and cut that off as well. Later I might want to trim these. I might want to leave a little fringe on it. I'm going to decide. Then I would do the same thing at the bottom, same pattern. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and I would keep going. You can see on this one I skipped a few, and then I pulled out another string, and I did different patterns. That makes it more unique. Notice the top matches the bottom. So I did the same pattern, same pattern, same pattern. You could do 2 the same. Okay, I have enough yarn. I can do 1 at the bottom at least, and then I could always go back and get more of the same color or change colors. Happy replacement weaving. Enjoy.